Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the News Today edition of 6th of November, wherein we try and make all important news of the day in the most simplest format for you guys to understand. So let's look at the important topics which we're going to cover today. First is India has successfully demonstrated India's first extensive quantum key distribution network, followed by India has also developed first indigenous CAR T cell therapy, which is very effective for cancer treatment, followed by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has unveiled India AI governance guidelines. United Nations has raised concerns regarding the application of neurotechnology. PRS has released a research which shows state finances 2025 report. And lastly, G20 has released a report on global inequality. We're also going to see a few quick updates for the day. So the very first news is there has been a successful demonstration of India's first extensive quantum key distribution network. I understand this is a quite technical topic, but again, if you look at the questions which UPSC has been asking from science and tech, they are of very basic nature. I'll show you one example as well. So if you look at the syllabus of paper number 3, we have seen that again development in the domains of IT, computers, space. So that pertains to this topic as far as UPSC syllabus is concerned. So what has happened recently? So a Bengaluru-based startup, which is basically called as QVenu Labs, has been supported under the National Quantum Mission of India. So again, we'll look about that as well, which has successfully demonstrated the whole idea of quantum key distribution network, which is by using optical fiber cable, and it is going to be a 500 kilometer, which is again going to boost the whole idea of secured communication network in India, which is very useful and impactful in the areas of defense, banking, and government systems. So this is a basic overview. I'll explain what exactly are these terms. So firstly, let's understand what do we understand by quantum key distribution system. Before this, it is very important to understand what is the idea of quantum mechanics. We must have read that quantum mechanics is a study of very tiniest particles, for example, the idea of photons, so which are basically light particles. And again, these photons have different kind of properties. For example, a photon can exhibit or can exist in two states. They can be existing both as a particle or as a wave. And if you try to observe it, they can very easily change their state. So these are the two properties of these photons which are used by this particular quantum key distribution as far as communication is concerned. So let's look at how they have been doing. All of you must have been using WhatsApp. So if you look at, and if you see, there is end-to-end encryption or encrypted messages. What exactly is the meaning of encrypted messages? So technically, if you are sending a message to a person or a friend, so once you type that message, once you click the send button, the message gets encrypted. Maybe it is maybe converted into some bits or some kind of, or maybe you can call it as some kind of modes in a different manner which cannot be decoded, right? And only the receiver device has a key to read that particular message. Even the carrier, no one is possible to read that particular or encrypt that particular message. So this is the idea of end-to-end encryption which WhatsApp has been using. So that makes the whole idea of communication quite safe. And with respect to quantum computing, we know it is very powerful computers, and there is a possibility that these quantum computers can even decrypt such encrypted messages. So that is where, again, this technology has come into force. So we look at quantum key distribution. So basically, it uses this property of photons, which they have, as in they can act as particle or as a wave, or they can change their state even whenever we are trying to measure it or oversee it. So these properties are used in the communication process as far as quantum key distribution is concerned. So let's say if you have sent a message and a hacker is trying to maybe hack your message. So this way, what would happen? the photon which is being used in the communication method, that would change its state. So that makes it very difficult to decrypt that message. So that's an idea which is making this communication technology quite safe from hacking and from decryption. That is the basic idea which has been used over here. So let's look at how they have been using it. So this works in 3 medium as of now. In real world, it works in 3 medium. Number one is through optical fibers, that is the existing telecom fibers network, what do we have. Then they are using free space, that is air-based line of sight laser between the buildings. We know these things. And then lastly, satellites for ultra long distance of global communication. So these are the 3 mediums through which this QKD works. So currently, the Bangalore-based startup which has used is optical fiber, which is very feasible, right? And which is very practicable for a big country like India, and that they have built up a 500-kilometer long communication line using this particular technology. Then, with respect to why it is big deal for India, because we see that again, and again, many a times we have came across this idea that with the development of quantum computers, it is not going to be safe as far as the communication networks and channels are concerned. Even in the traditional encryption method, what we are using, they can be very easily decrypted by the use of quantum computers. That makes this communication network quite unsafe in the process. So with this coming into picture, with this kind of technology, it is going to make the encryption a quantum proof that even if a super powerful computer cannot hack it. And this is a very big breakthrough technology which is developed by India, which could be used for communication across defense and military communication, which are very sensitive, which are very much having a very strategic importance. Then with respect to government data exchange, we are going to use in banking and financial services, as well as healthcare and telecom networks. All of these are very sensitive sectors. So that is where this is a very innovative and very a good, let's say, development of India as far as this communication proof, which is going to be proof of quantum computers, is going to be helpful for India. Then we have the role of National Quantum Mission. As I discussed, this development has been done under the National Quantum Mission of India. So basically, this mission was launched to develop quantum computers, communication, and sensing materials. Basic facts here, again, you're going to see that again, what exactly are the components of National Quantum Mission. So this QKD demonstration was funded under the iHub Quantum Technology Foundation, which is a part of National Mission of Interdisciplinary Cyber Physical Systems. Basic facts, and it is supporting the startups just like the Bengaluru one, which is going development in the ideas of quantum communication. Then, with respect to other 2 things, so again, 2 other quantum innovations have been recently announced by our Honorable Prime Minister. One is the QSIP, Quantum Random Number Generator System. So basically, as I discussed, quantum, they are generating random, what we call as quantum security. It is India's first quantum security chip. So again, it creates or generates random numbers which are using quantum processes, which is very difficult to decrypt. So these random numbers are used for encryption systems to create unpredictable cryptographic keys, so which is making very difficult for a hacker, in fact impossible for a hacker to hack a communication network like this. So then it is ensuring, of course, defense against cyber and quantum attacks. We have also what we call as 25 qubit quantum processing units. So again, qubit as a term was in a question of prelims examination. I'll show you that as well. So basically, this is developed by India startup QPI AI. So it is India's first quantum computing chip with 25 superconducting qubits. That is, qubits are basically called as quantum bits. So they are also launched by QPI Indus, which is India's full stack quantum computer integrating. So basic 2 programs, you're going to see basic details, nothing much to discuss over here, and not to, in fact, for you to read. I'll show you how questions are asked in examination. It's very simple in nature. So again, this question was asked in prelims examination: which of the following is the context in which the term qubit is mentioned? So we have seen qubit is used for where? Cloud services, quantum computing, visible light communication technologies, or wireless communication technologies. Of course, quantum computing. So this is how prelims based questions are asked from science and tech topics. Clear? Moving on to the next topic. So again, India has again done a commendable job in the front of cancer treatment. So we have indigenously developed India's first CAR T cell therapy, that is next CAR 19. We are going to see what exactly is, how exactly it functions. So again, a part of GS paper number 3, that is health biotechnology. So let's look at how exactly this functions. So India has developed its own version of super advanced cancer treatment called as NextCar 19. Clear? So it is made, this basic details that who has made this. It is made by ImmunoACT, which is a biotech startup collaboration between IIT Bombay and TMH, that is Tata Memorial Hospital, with the help of Department of Biotechnology and a government funding agency, that is BIRAC. Then in 2003, it got approval from Central Drug Standards Control Organization, which is meaning it can be used, this therapy can be used to treat patients who are suffering from cancer. Clear? Again, a specific kind of cancer, but again, let's see how exactly it functions. So basically, if you understand, if you have read the basic biology, you must have understood we have what we call as white blood cells. Our white blood cells are basically, they contain T cells. So T cells are the ones who are working as our soldiers in the body. So they are the ones who are fighting, who are our immune system, who are fighting against any kind of external threat which is entering into our body. Clear? So what this therapy is doing, doctors are taking out these T cells from a healthy human blood, right? So these T cells are taken out from the blood, and these T cells are genetically engineered with a protein called as chimeric antigen receptor. So again, it is how enhancing the soldier. So maybe we are soldiers, so now we are giving artificially, what we are doing is, with this therapy, we are giving more powers to the soldiers, right? So with these more powers, now the genetically engineered T cells are now again reintroduced in the body. So now the T cells which are entering into the body by this particular protein, they are more capable to fight against the cancer cells in the body. So basically, this is basically used to treat blood cancer specifically. So this is how this technology is being used. So that is the basic idea of the CAR T cell therapy. Basic, यही आपको पता होना चाहिए, nothing much beyond this. So what are the benefits? Again, traditionally chemotherapies are being used. There are sometimes where they have a lot of side effects. So with this T cell therapy, the CAR T cell therapy, it is going to work faster than the traditional chemotherapy or the stem cell transplant mechanisms to treat cancer. Then we have long-term protection, because the T cells are getting genetically engineered, so they are going to be in the body for a long duration of time, and again, its impact to fight against the cancers is going to be little bit longer as compared to the traditional methods of chemotherapy and stem cell therapy. And lastly, of course, it is going to be making the cost of treatment of cancer maybe approximately 10 times less. If you understand, until now, this CAR T therapy costed somewhere around, I'm assuming, 4-5 crores if you, and again, not even done in India. So with this, it is going to be quite cheaper, quite affordable with respect to treatment of cancer. Then, of course, this has certain side effects. Let's discuss what are those. Maybe they are treating only specific type of cancers like B cell cancers, and may not work for other cancers like lung cancer, breast cancer. It is one of the challenges and risk. Side effects includes, as maybe the T cells are genetically engineered, the immune system is little bit changed over here. So it can lead to cytokine release syndrome, which is having high fever or low blood pressure. Then it is also going to cause what we call as neurotoxicity, because some external protein is injected, genetically engineered, and it is inserted in the body. So it is, in some cases, it may affect the brain or nervous system. And lastly, the patient would have an infection risk. Since it suppresses the parts of immune system, infections can occur. So again, very breakthrough development as far as cancer treatment in India is concerned, and making it more affordable. Again, it's like, again an example of how Make in India in healthcare could be also be used as an example for this. So that's how it is. Any question which has been asked? Yes, I think in 2022 there was a question. Which of the following statements best describes the role of B cells and T cells in human body? We have discussed T cells. T cells are what? They are fighting, they are the soldiers of the body, they are fighting against and they are helping the immune system of the body. So let's look at the options. They protect the environment, allergens in the body, they alleviate the body's pain and inflammation, they act as immunosuppressants in the body, they protect the body from diseases and caused by pathogens, because they are the soldiers. They are fighting against any kind of pathogens or external agent which are entering into the human body. So again, D is the right option over here. So again, look at the questions would be very much simple, right? Even if you don't know B cell, if you have read about T cells, so that's where you talk about general science knowledge as far as prelims examination is concerned. The next topic is India AI governance guidelines. All of you know about the India AI mission. We are talking about the use of artificial intelligence in the governance process. So now India has released its guidelines as far as usage of artificial intelligence in governance is concerned. So it is being released by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. So again, very helpful for maybe this topic is important for paper number 2, that is e-governance, and also paper number 3, where again we are talking about specifically about artificial intelligence under the topic of science and tech. So let's look at what are these guidelines. So basically they have told that AI governance has 6 pillars, and these 6 pillars are coming under 3 domains. One is enablement. What is the meaning of enablement? So that firstly, if someone is going to use AI, I need to have AI first, I need to have AI infrastructure, I need to be capable enough to use AI, I need to have skills to run those AI. This is the idea of enablement. Enablement consists of having necessary infrastructure for artificial intelligence usage in governance, and at the very same time, capacity building. People should be skilled enough to run those artificial intelligence. That is the basic idea, building of digital backbone and skilled people needed for AI growth. Then, after you have enabled people and enabled the infrastructure for AI in governance, then you need to regulate it. That's a major part, because we know the pros and cons of artificial intelligence. We have seen a lot of examples of deepfakes, morph videos. So again, that is where there has to be a very sensitive or a regulated use of artificial intelligence. So again, they have told that there has to be some policy and regulation. And lastly, there has to be risk mitigation. So there are a lot of multiple risks associated with the usage of AI. All of this has to be done. So we have to make clear rules and reduce potential harms like bias and misinformation, which is AI can have. And lastly, oversight, that someone has to oversee the usage of artificial intelligence. So again, the ideas of accountability and institutions has to be created. Number 1 is create checks and balances, so no one is using or no one is misusing this artificial intelligence. That is the 6 pillars coming under basic 3 domains. Then with respect to as I discussed, we have been making this guidelines with respect to usage of artificial intelligence. So we have 7 principles. If you understand, the Constitution of India was made, the preamble contains the philosophy of the Constitution, right? Just like this. So these are the principles which is going to guide that how exactly we are going to make rules and guidelines for artificial intelligence. So these 7 sutras are that trust is the foundation, people should be kept first, innovation should be over-restrained, fairness and equity has to be maintained, there has to be accountability, understandable by design, and lastly, safety, resilience, and sustainability. These are the 7 parameters or 7 sutras which has been taken up into consideration while framing these guidelines for usage of artificial intelligence. Clear? Then we have the timeline. Again, this guidelines is also told that we are going to implement this, we are going to make this plan in a maybe systematic manner. We have a very short-term plan, middle-term plan, and long-term plan. In the short-term manner, that is for next 1 or 2 years, we are going to make India's specific AI risk frameworks, that what are the risks associated with the usage of AI in India, and define clear liability rules, that again, if AI is causing any harm, who is going to be held accountable for that particular thing. That is the vision for the next 2 years. Then the medium term, in the next 3 to 5 years, we are planning to integrate the digital public infrastructure like Aadhaar, UPI with the AI tools. So that again, it could be, we know the benefits of artificial intelligence with respect to incorporating them in the digital infrastructure. But again, we have to see the feasibility first. We have to see the potential risk associated. That is why we have kept it under the middle term plan. So then publish common AI standards for transparency and safety. That again, what are the AI standards as a country which we are going to maintain? And lastly, the long-term plan is to draft new artificial intelligence laws to handle emerging technologies and future risks, because it is ever developing. Every day there is some development in this particular domain. So again, in the long term, we are going to make sure that again there are AI laws which is going to ensure that how are we going to see this, manage this, and maybe cater to the risk which are associated with this particular technology. Then AI governance. So who is going, which body, which ministry is going to be holding accountable for AI in governance? This is where it has been seen that again, there is not going to be one dedicated ministry or body. It is going to be a mixture of, or a network of institutions which is going to oversee AI in governance. Number one is a very high level body will be there, which is example AI governance group, which is going to coordinate the national AI governance efforts. Then there are government ministry, for example, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Ministry of Home Affairs, which is going to see the policy and security oversight of AI. Then there would be some, because the AI is applicable in different sectors, health, banking, you can talk about anywhere. So again, RBI, SEBI, TRAI, SCCI, all of these are going to be the sectoral regulators of implementation of AI in the respective sectors. Then we have advisory bodies, for example, Niti Aayog, Office of PSA, which is going to strategically advise and coordinate the entire implementation program, followed by there has to be some standard bodies which is going to standardize the use of AI, for example, BIS, TEC, which is going to develop technical standards for AI systems in India. That's how we are planning to, again, a very good step with respect to AI implementation or guidelines for AI usage in the country, which was a very necessary step, because at a global level, different countries have launched their programs, have launched their guidelines of usage of AI in governance. So again, this has been a very great step as far as AI usage in governance in India is concerned. Very important topic for your examination. Then practical guidelines is that these rules which are being made are not just for the government. They are for the companies who are going to use AI, as well as for the regulators. For the companies, they have told that all companies which are using AI need to have a complaint redressal mechanism, so that people can report any AI which is harming them, or any usage of AI which is potentially harming them. Then we have all companies need to ensure AI transparency, that again users, that again a lot of times, many times we are seeing that again how you're using something and again you're using AI and you do not know it. So the idea is ki if the users are using AI, they have to be made aware. Yes, you are using artificial intelligence. So again, users should know when they are interacting with AI and conduct AI impact assessment for before any large scale deployment. Maybe if you talk about, you are reading in news these days that again how there are many layoffs being done by big companies or tech giants with respect to incorporation of AI in the whole idea of tech sector. So this is where it has been told that companies need to first run in short batches if they are implementing anything new. That's the basic idea. Then with respect to the regulators, that again, keep governance flexible and agile. Again, keep on updating, don't stick by one rule. As in when you see an update, as in when you see a new development, keep on changing the rules and regulations as well. Then include stakeholders' feedback. Again, the end users, the citizens, the researchers and companies, they have to be, their feedback has to be taken up into consideration while framing and updating these rules and regulations. And lastly, we have to ensure ethical audits and monitoring mechanisms, because this is the tipping point where again ethical standard has to be maintained with respect to usage of AI, right? So that's the basic idea which has been discussed in this particular thing. Moving on to the next news, United Nations has released concerns regarding neurotechnology. Again, a topic of science and tech. What is neurotechnology? Basically, the idea of working maybe a tech-based thing which is working with brain. Right? I think we have discussed one more time this particular technology. Let's discuss what is those. Again, usage in paper number 3. So, neurotechnology is basically a software. Again, I'll explain you in a very simple manner. Let's say if this is a mouse, this is kept over here. I want to use this mouse. I want to click a part of my desktop. I thought I want to go and close this particular window. Just the mere thought is going to do that task for me. That is the application, this neurotechnology. That is how through a gadget, the signals will be sent, will be transmitted, and that could lead to some kind of desired result you can visibly see as a part of doing it. That's the basic idea of neurotechnology, right? So that is a basic idea where again you can directly talk to your brain and they can read, analyze, or even influence how your brain works. So basically the brain signals are being tracked and they are sent to a device, and that device is doing a particular task for you. Okay? That's a basic idea of this. So basically an example of brain-computer interface, that is something which we have discussed many times. So again, a system that lets your brain send commands to a computer, like moving a cursor just by thinking. Imagine if this could happen. And again, in many sci-fi movies, I think this has been showcased as a part of story. And what are the potential challenges which are associated with this particular thing, right? I think in one of the web series, I think Black Mirror, there was one episode which has showcased this technology, right? So then it is also like a connecting human brain to a machine and combining neuroscience, the study of brain, with technology and artificial intelligence. So recently, United Nations has raised a concern that this kind of technology is again what they are raising alarms with respect to threatening the fundamental human rights, that is right to mental privacy. So that is a basic idea. Let's see what are the, and why they have told how they are impacting mental privacy and personal identity. Number one is, they have told that it is going to impact the mental integrity. So imagine that a device is connected to your brain. Don't you think that device would be capable enough to change how you think, right? So that is where it is that imagine certain headsets that can read your feelings and can change them. That is even worse. And this raises questions about mental freedom. Are your thoughts now truly yours? And that was something which was showcased in that particular web series, Black Mirror. I think one of the episodes it was being showcased. That again, how some device was connected to a person's brain, and that device was handling that how that person was reacting. That is a very sensitive matter, and that is where there has to be some kind of regulation which has been raised by UNESCO over this particular technology. Then personal identity and psychological continuity. Again, if someone can influence how you can think, that is a natural thing. So don't you think it is something again infringing your privacy, how you think, how you behave? So this could damage your autonomy, control over your mind, and freedom of thought. Then natural data misuse, because we have understand that again our mind, if a device is connected to our mind and data is being collected, don't you think that data could be used for advertisements? That data could be used for some kind of technology, right? This is where Data could be misused, which is someone's personal data. So companies might collect the brain data, like how you feel, how you react, and use it for targeted ads, profiling, surveillance, similar to how social media uses online data. Similarly, your brain's data could be used. Then social inequality. It is again going to create a class of people who can afford this kind of technology to have maybe a different set of mind, a different kind of skills as compared to some people who cannot afford to use it. So this is one other challenge which this UN has told. Then they have also suggested what is the way forward with respect to this particular issue. They have told that again there has to be a legal protection and regulation with respect to the usage of this particular technology. We understand that this is going to be beneficial, but again, it has a lot of potential challenges as well. So for that, we need to regulate it in a very sensitive manner. So government should create a strict laws to control how neurotech is used, specifically in non-medical fields like marketing, surveillance, and defense. Because it is very much helpful for someone who is maybe paralyzed, who cannot move his or her hand. This technology is going to be useful for them. But again, at the very same time, it is not going to be useful whenever the data is used for marketing, surveillance, and defense purposes. Then data policy. So as I discussed, these machines are using collecting data. So we have to develop that again the data are not misused. They are used in a fair and strong rules, how neural data is collected, stored, and shared and used. Then equitable access, we need to make it affordable so that every person can afford to use this particular technology. Specifically the people who cannot move, who are paralyzed, who have non-functional body parts. That is where this technology could be very much useful for them. So that is how it is going to be made affordable in nature as well. So again, this kind of neurotechnology, they can ask you, neurotechnology is related to which of the following things? So basic questions for your prelims examination. The next news is PRS Legislative Research has released the State of Finances 2025 report. So we know about the ideas of fiscal federalism. We have recently came across that the GST compensation cess, which was initially given to compensate states for the GST implementation, is going to stop. So multiple times, states have also raised a lot of concerns with respect to the finances, what they have. So this report is basically telling what is the health of all states of India with respect to the financial matters. So let's see what this report has talked about. Number one, they have told that again, all states have a very high committed spending. What is committed spending, sir? Ye karna hi karna hai. There is no option that we cannot spend money on these particular things. For example, if every state, these are fixed things, salaries, pensions, interest, subsidies. So they constitute 62% of the spending which is being done by the state governments. So technically, they are left with only 38% for developmental purposes. For example, roads, schools, hospitals. So a very less chunk of amount is being left for actual development, because majority of the money is being spent on fixed assets. For example, every house has a budget. If I have an income, I have fixed expenses for me. So my fixed expenses is constituting 62-65%. How can you expect me to diversify, to use my funds for other development, for my savings, for my leisure activities, for my travel, anything like that? That is a basic idea which has been discussed over here. Then they're also telling that again, falling GST revenues. With the implementation of GST, then we gave states GST compensation checks, but technically GST has led to revenue loss of these states as per the report. So state revenue from GST tax has fallen down by 6.5% of GDP 15-16 to 5.5%. And the Finance Commission in fact has told that they hoped for a 7%, but the target looks very far away. We are only achieved 5.5%. At the time of implementation of GST, it was 6.5%, the state finances, which has reduced to 5.5%, with the target of 7%, which was set up by the Finance Commission. Then shrinking untied transfers. many a times we have seen that grants are being given by center. So technically, many times these grants come with some conditions. Let's say grants for Swachh Bharat mission. So again, that money can only be used for activities for Swachh Bharat mission implementation for that particular state. So the untied funds, what are untied funds? That do not come with any kind of conditions, and the states have autonomy to use this fund as and when and how they require to use them. So the untied funds which comes from center has been decreasing. That this report has been telling that they have dropped from 64 to 64% under the 15th Finance Commission. So states have less freedom to decide how they are going to spend money, because every fund comes with some kind of conditions. Then rising debt, states own too much. So the idea is debt is everywhere. India is also in debt. Again, the state finances report also tells that many states are in debt, and majority of the spending is also being done to repay those debt, to repay those interests, and that has been discussed in this particular report. Then with respect to rising interest payment, again the borrowing cost has increased, and again a larger part of the new income which is being generated by state is used to pay back the loans or the interest. Then fiscal pressure from cash transfer schemes. Many times you have seen, specifically for women, different states launch different type of scheme. Pyari Didi Yojana, maybe you can talk about Gruha Lakshmi scheme, Ladli Behan Yojana. So these are maybe cash transfer schemes which are good, which is required, but they are also taking a toll on fiscal balance, or they are making the state finances in a stressful situation. Then lastly, the growing income gap between the states. There are a lot of states who are doing well. For example, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, they are raising more tax per person and spend more on development as compared to some states who are like Bihar, UP. They are falling far behind, which is again creating a regional inequality. So these are something which has been discussed in this particular report. They have suggested a way forward as well. Technically, basic logical economics ka term hai, that again, if these are the issues, then how we are going to solve them. Now one is fiscal discipline has to be enforced. That again, strict, and how exactly we are going to spend the money. We are not going to borrow for routine expenses, for salaries. We are going to use our own money. Then we are going to cut down on the revenue deficits. Then again, we are going to bring down the debt under standard is 20% target to reduce the interest burden. Then the boosting of revenue generation has to be in a strategic manner by simplifying GST slabs, increasing non-tax revenue via user charges for public services, mining royalties, asset monetization, better property tax and excise collection. This is the certain areas through which non-tax revenue money can be generated, and spending has to be done in a very wise manner. We need to rationalize subsidies. These cash transfer which are being done to women has to be done not to politically mobilize the voters, but actually when it is required. Right, control fixed committed spending, protect capital expenditure, right, and increase united transfers to give states more flexibility. That is, conditional transfers come kariye. Untied funds has to be given to states to use. The states should have an autonomy to use them as and when they need it and they require it, right? The next topic is G20 report again has been released, and it is showing about the idea of global inequality, not in India, at a global level. There is huge inequality which this report has highlighted. So global inequality report is released by which body? A question of prelims examination, G20. Again, so such kind of questions, maybe you can use them in the topics of inclusive growth. We can quote the report of this G20 report on global inequality, which talks about there is inequality not just in India but across the globe. So these kind of reports can be used in your answer writing of mains as well as to solve questions of your prelims examination. So what this report has actually told, that 83% of the countries across the globe is having what we call as unequal distribution of income. Clear? And these countries cover 90% of the world population. So again, technically, 90% of the people in India are facing income inequality. Clear? So Again, all of you know about Gini coefficient, which talks about income inequality. So again, Gini coefficient above zero point 0.4 means more the Gini coefficient, more is an income inequality in the society. So that is a basic idea over here. Then it is also talking about wealth inequality, not just income. The richest people hold huge amount of wealth. That is, just 1% of the world is grabbing 41% of all new wealth created, and the bottom 50% is only having 1%, a mere showcase of wealth inequality as well. And in fact, in India, top 1% has increased their share of total wealth by 62% during this period. This has been the report. Then also it tells that what are the reasons that why this inequality is on rise, wherein we talk about the ideas of inclusive growth, equitable growth. Then why do we still see income inequality in the country and in the globe, maybe in the world? Number one is this new neoliberal policies. Many times governments are reduced rules on companies and they are making taxes less progressive in nature. What is progressive taxation? As in when your income increases, you're going to pay more. So this is somewhere government is not doing, right? And the labor protections has weakened, making jobs less secured and wages which are less fair. So this is one reason of income inequality. Then monopoly, if you understand, and maybe in fact, you must be knowing this, major companies dominate majority of things. So there is a sense of monopoly in the market. So with this, of course, a lot of tech giants, a lot of mega corporations are owning a bigger chunk of the thing, and some small companies do not have any share. That is leading to profit is squeezed by this owners of these big companies who have create a monopoly in the market. Then the globalization and technology, maybe with globalization, what we have seen, interconnectedness of economies, right? So factories and money can move across the globe, but again, there is less feasibility of movement of workers. So the low skill, maybe machines and AI is replacing the low skill jobs, reducing workers' bargaining power, which is again leading to inequality. Then it is also talking about political influence of the rich, because we have seen that wealthy elites are using their powers for shaping policies that favor them, like tax breaks or lax regulations. We are also seeing the whole idea of money power in election process. Then historical legacies, many countries who were under the colonial rule, inequality stems from the very history, and that has been carrying forward. Example is India itself. So that these are the potential reasons why we are still are under inequality that has been discussed by this particular report. Then what are the consequences of inequality? Number one is political impact. Inequality undermines and fuels authoritarianism, right? Then economic impact, it is slowing down the growth, it hinders poverty reduction. As far as environment is concerned, it is worsening climate crisis, hits poor nations the hardest. And lastly, societal impact, reducing social mobility, worsening health and well-being. So these are the possible consequences of inequality in society. Then what this G20 has recommended, that how exactly we can curb this inequality and take it out from society. They have told, number one, to create an international panel on inequality, just like we have a panel on climate change, which is fighting against the idea of climate change by making policies, rules, and discussions, meetings. In a similar manner, make a panel for which is going to cater into the idea of inequality which is prevalent across the global society. That is one thing which has been discussed. Then global minimum tax for ultra rich. Sir, you make a tax system, again a global tax system where again all countries come together, so that is ultra rich people are being taxed. Many times what do you see? Some people, some rich people, to avoid tax in the particular country, they open up a company in another country. So with this, they are bypassing the tax and they're not paying the tax with respect to money what they are earning. So again, that is where this global minimum tax for ultra rich is going to solve that particular problem. Then we have fairer intellectual property rules, basic idea, which is going to allow compulsory licenses or waivers for vital tech. so that poor countries are not felt behind with respect to the development and the usage of new technologies. And lastly, universal access to essential services. For example, everyone should have an access to affordable health, education, and social security, regardless of their income. With these suggestions, we can reduce inequality from the society. Right, it's a very important topic. You can use this content in your answers of paper number 2 and 3 with an idea of governance, in the ideas of inclusive growth, in the ideas of equitable development. All of those could be used over here. Moving on to the quick updates for the day. So ED as a body was in news. Why? Because ED's asset, because a lot of cases are coming up with respect to the raids which have been conducted by enforcement directorate. So again, the ED's asset recovery cases has been set up as a model practices by Financial Action Task Force in its asset recovery guidance and best practices. So that is why ED was in news. You're going to read about them. So ED headquartered in New Delhi, established 1956, coming under Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. Its mandate is for multidisciplinary agency for money laundering and foreign exchange violations. It has basic 3 laws: Prevention of Money Laundering Act, FEMA Act, FEOA Act, which is Fugitive Economic Offenders. Then powers conduct, they have power to conduct search and seizure. They can summon, arrest and prosecute offenders. They can attach and confiscate proceeds of a crime. So basic details, very important for your prelims examination. Questions would be around these basic facts in the question paper. The next topic is water convention. So many times some countries sign a convention and that convention comes up in news and that becomes important for your prelims examination. So recently Bangladesh is one of the first South Asian countries who has signed this water convention with respect to the usage of transnational rivers. So that is a basic idea. So this convention was adopted in the year 1992 in Helsinki, and it came into force in 1996. So basically it is a legally binding framework for sustainable management of shared transboundary water resources. Its provisions includes how to prevent, control, reduce transboundary water impacts, reasonable, equitable and sustainable use of shared waters, and it mandates cooperation via agreements and joint bodies among riparian states. So again, the whole idea of this water convention, where was it adopted, signed, is it legally binding, not legally binding, whether India is a party to this or not. So that kind of questions could be asked in examination. The next topic is the Baku to Belem roadmap of 1.3 trillion report. So again, you all know about that. Again, we are fighting climate change. And for fighting climate change, we need money, we need finance. So in this particular report, this has been telling that how exactly we are going to raise money to fight the idea of climate change. That is something which is going to be discussed before this COP30, which is going to happen in Brazil, which is calling for collection of 1.3 trillion by the year 2035 to fight climate change. That is the idea of climate finance. Objective is to ensure enhanced and predictable climate finance from developed nations. So 5R action plan has been done. You're going to read about them: replenish, rebalance, rechannel, revamp, and reshape. So basic facts, you're going to use it by yourself. Then we have the Goga Beel Lake of Bihar. So many times whenever important lake, some lake coming under Ramsar Convention comes into picture, that makes that topic, that makes that place in news very important for examination. So recently Goga Beel Lake in Bihar has been categorized or has been protected under the Ramsar site, which has become the 94th wetland of international importance. So basic details, it is an oxbow wetland. It is located in Katihar district of Bihar, and it is coming under rivers of Mahananda, Kankhar in the north and Ganga in the southeast. And the status it is Bihar's first community reserve, and it contains important habitat for resident and migratory birds. So again, there are other two recent in addition to Ramsar sites from Bihar. That it is Gokul Jalshay, which is there in Buxar, and Udaipur Jheel, that is the 93rd, which is there in the West Champaran region. People might get confused. Udaipur Jheel, but it's in Bihar. Then we have Doha Declaration, Second World Summit for Social Development. Again, questions again from prelims examination. Doha Declaration was in news. It is related to which thing? So that kind of questions. So again, Doha Declaration is basically a declaration for social development. The first summit was held in Copenhagen in 1995, and it is conducted under the United Nations General Assembly Basic Facts. So the declaration basically talks about three things which are interconnected priorities, that is poverty eradication, decent work for all, and social inclusion. So that is the basic idea, and under this summit they have talked about for universal gender responsive social protection and equitable access to health and education services. The next topic is satellite based internet. All of we know about that Starlink, the Elon Musk company. It has signed a memorandum of understanding with Maharashtra government for providing internet services in certain remote areas. That is the basic news over here. So satellite internet किस तरीके से यूज होता है? It is basically a wireless broadband delivered via communication satellites orbiting the Earth. And the difference is that it works without ground-based cables, unlike fiber or DSL. It is basically using satellite communication. So under the dish, data is being sent to a satellite, satellite to ground station to global internet, and this is how it works. Clear? And the lower Earth orbit satellites, that is Starlink, which is giving faster speed and lower latency with respect to the users of internet. And again, it is going to bridge the digital divide in India, specifically in rural and remote areas. Next is tidal disruption event, again a geographical event which you're going to see. Maybe they can ask in prelims. Tidal disruption event, it leads to what? So whenever a star is hitting a black hole, there is a huge blast happening, and it is leading a trail of that explosion creates a light kind of thing that is called as tidal disruption event. So a very biggest tidal disruption event has been observed by astronomers and from this area. So it occurs when a star gets too close to a supermassive black hole and it's torn apart by gravity, releasing massive radiation. That is the basic idea. It produces bright flares of energy visible across vast distances, and it is significant. It is significant in understanding the black hole behavior and their impact on surrounding galaxies. Then we have Project Suncatcher, which is being developed by Google. So basically, Google is planning to test AI data centers in space. So basically, the idea is that again, you can use computers in space using solar-powered satellites, which are there, of course, in low Earth orbit. So basically, usage of AI in computers in space using this solar-powered satellites. That is a basic idea of this project, Suncatcher. That is the only thing you are going to require as far as the examination is concerned. So key features include, so they are under this lower Earth orbit, they are going to be situating certain satellites which are called as tensor processing units. These are AI chips which are being built by Google, and they are planning that again how much feasible it is to use solar power generation, chip performance in space, and data transmission efficiency in space. So basically how practical it is to use computers, chips in space, that is going to be done with this particular program of Google. The next topic is Bali Yatra Festival in Odisha. So again a culture news. Bali Yatra Festival, a part of our Indian culture, specifically in Odisha district, Odisha state. So the President of India has extended the greetings for occasion of Bali Yatra Festival. So this festival is celebrated in the month of Kartik Purnima. That is again, we had this yesterday. And it is done, located in the coastal Odisha region in Cuttack. I am assuming in the between Cuttack and Bhubaneswar, this is being done. So it is commemorating Odisha's ancient maritime trade with Bali and Southeast Asia. It symbolizes the spirit of exploration and commerce of ancient Kalinga sailors. Basically, यहाँ पे traders आते हैं, they sell their products. There is a huge mela being done over there. That is the basic idea. So that is something with respect to Bali Yatra Festival of Odisha. So with this, we come to an end of today's news, today's discussion. So I hope all of you have understood the news which I have explained. Now, all important questions which could be framed from the topics which I have discussed will pop up in your screen. Now, as always, you're going to solve the questions, you're going to post your answers in the comment section, so that a competitive spirit is going to be generated among all students preparing for this examination. Lastly, Vision has come up with digital current affairs platform, which is a one-stop solution for current affairs as far as UPSC examination is concerned. Please go and explore this website. Thank you so very much and all the very best.